vagus nerve stimulation could help, then I would say definitely it could, and it does. And I've done it countless times. But, again, that's not something that I would ever ask a client to be like, hey, would you be cool putting a testimonial about that or anything like that? So anyway, all right. Switching gears, we're going live on YouTube now. Thanks everybody for joining. Today we're going to be talking about, can vagus nerve stimulation hurt you? How can it hurt you, and what to know before you buy or incorporate it in any way? And that includes natural and technology-based interventions. And we're going to go over what some things that the marketers are not telling you about VNS before you buy that you might want to know. So if you're thinking about buying, then please watch for the first at least 10 minutes of this video. I will go over that right and get right to the point. But before we do that, I want to do my favorite part of this whole video. Since it's the end of the day, you've had a long day, you've done so much, I want to just have us do a simultaneous squeeze, which is a breath practice that we're going to do together. So all you need to do is take a big deep breath in, hold it at the top, squeeze it with all your might, hold it in while you're squeezing for 5 seconds, and then after 5 seconds, you're going to make a big, long exhale like that, and it's going to feel so good. It's going to be the best part of your day. It's going to be the dopamine drip of your evening to reward yourself for making it through the whole day. Good job. Pat yourself on the back, okay? So here we go. Ready? In 3, 2, 1, big, deep breath in, and then sip at the top, 5 seconds hold, and squeeze. 1, 2. And exhale. Ooh, that feels so good. So nice. If you do that just right, oh, it's like no amount of candy or cake or ice cream can really even touch that spot that doing the right kind of breathing can do for you. So I hope you enjoyed that. Now, let's get to the subject matter at hand. First and foremost, thanks guys so much for watching, and thanks as well for all the people watching the replays. We have hundreds of people that watch the replays from tonight until the next day, and I get to see those metrics. I know the time I selected here at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern may not be the most ideal time on the planet, but I had to pick some time, and I always am ready to go at this time of the day. So again, I appreciate you guys for joining, for following along, and I intend to just do this every day, no matter what. Come rain or shine, come hell or high water, I'll be live at this time for you, for your benefit, and because I actually enjoy it, as you can tell. I like being on camera. What can I say? Maybe I'm a narcissist in that way. Okay. But okay, so can vagus nerve stimulation hurt you? And what are they not telling you? Meaning the people who make the devices, or the coaches, or the people out there trying to sell you into vagus nerve stimulation as a modality to fix any number of XYZ issues. So first and foremost, the key answer here, the big answer, is that absolutely anything can hurt you. Any kind of device that you put on your body can have a negative effect. It's possible with anything, even for those who I work with, where we use ultrasound. There can be moments, and it's especially in their first 2 weeks, where they're like, whoa, that was more stimulation than I expected. Now, it's rare, like 5% that happens to, but it's easy to shift with VNS to lower the intensity or to lower the time that you do it, to mitigate your body's natural reaction to something that might be completely new. Because, I mean, raise your hand if you're like, okay, if I started vagus nerve stimulation with a device, would it not be the first time you've done that? That would be the first time in your life, potentially, that you've actually directly stimulated your actual vagus nerve. And it's not to say that, like, I wish I could say, like, well, only until today have you ever been able to actually stimulate your vagus nerve. I mean, certainly in a way that's true, but it's only true if I say, right now is the only time you've been able to consistently stimulate your vagus nerve so accurately and so profoundly, because we know a lot more about it now than you have before. But back in the Victorian age, in the 1800s, they would stimulate the vagus nerve with one of those big, those big reel things. They go, and they do electrical stimulation of your legs or your body. They would put those on your neck and stimulate your vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is something that people have known about for a long time. They've been stimulating it electrically for a very long time. I'd say ultrasound stimulation of the vagus nerve probably dates back to the 1940s and 50s, whereas electrical stimulation of the vagus nerve goes back another 100+ years. And there's actually some initial data that shows that the French would use electrical eels and place them against the neck to stimulate the vagus nerve electrically, which is crazy. But hey, when people get sick, are they willing to try some things that might work? Definitely. So, really to answer the primary question is, can vagus nerve stimulation hurt? Well, think about it. If you put an electrical eel up against your throat to try and stimulate your vagus nerve, do you think that would hurt? Of course it would. Of course. That's going to hurt. Electric eels are not pleasant things to handle. But it's a cost-benefit type of thing. If the condition that you're dealing with is already extremely painful, then the hurt from VNS might not be anywhere close to what you might be experiencing. For instance, two of the biggest ones where it's a no-brainer to incorporate VNS is migraines, cluster headache, migraine style things, and epilepsy. So migraines and epilepsy, those are two conditions where it's a no-brainer to throw vagus nerve stimulation at the problem. It's just a no-brainer because the medications don't seem to work for migraines or epilepsy. There are medications for both of those things. Do they work exceptionally well? No, they don't. So vagus nerve stimulation electrically is something that's widely used today. And think, some of you, we've all had a night out drinking, right? I remember when I lived in Berkeley, I would go every Christmas to a what was it, like a Norwegian Christmas dinner with one of my friends named Sol from back in 2009, 2010. And we would drink Danish schnapps all night. So when I got home the next morning, I was wasted. I would take a taxi, obviously. Take a taxi or a BART or something like that. And I would get back home. I always took a taxi. BARTing at nighttime in the Bay Area is not a good idea, especially not today. But I would get home and I would fall asleep pretty quickly, but I would wake up with the most insane headache on the planet. There's something about Danish schnapps that is just I do not recommend getting drunk off of that stuff. Get drunk off something else, or don't just get drunk at all. How about that? But so we've all had hangovers, but imagine if you had a hangover every single day for multiple times a day. And now that's called, you have a migraine cluster headache condition and it hurts all the time. And you're taking drugs that make you feel drowsy or sick or whatever, or nauseous. And yeah, the thing that they would do is like a Gammacore or a Truvaga or an implant potentially right in your neck. And that's going to electrically stimulate your muscles in your neck. And that can be a little painful. But if it prevents the migraines, which it does really well, then again, the pain is nowhere near the pain of the condition. The pain of vagus nerve stimulation is nowhere close to the pain of the device. So migraines, for instance, of course it's worth it. For epilepsy, again, epilepsy, you stop and you drop and you roll. Not fun, not good, not pleasant in any way, shape, or form. So for epilepsy, you're 100% going to need to stimulate your vagus nerve to stop the seizures. And does it work? Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the devices that are available now today are going to be electrical stimulators, and they're going to electrically stimulate the vagus nerve. And you can do them for a few minutes, and it's not too much of an inconvenience, and it can help. So it can be a great experience for sure. But again, it's funny because you see a lot of these ads online for these devices. Like, put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you've seen an ad on your Facebook feed or YouTube or wherever for some type of a vagus nerve device. Maybe ones that go around your neck. Have you seen an ad? If you haven't, then you're going to do it. You're going to see one after today for sure, if this is the first time you're ever engaging with my content. But I see an ad for a vagus nerve stimulator on my feed basically every single day, right? So one in the chat, unless you guys have not seen any ads, I would be very surprised if you've never seen an ad for, okay, yeah, okay, good. So TK, you've seen lots. All electrical too, all electrical. Ones that wrap around your neck, ones that you put in your neck, all kinds of stuff. So they're all electrical devices. And what they don't show you is them on. That's the thing. The ads that you're seeing of people going, oh, wow, I feel so good. And Laura, you have seen them too. I'm not surprised. I would expect the two of you to see these for sure. So you've seen them, but just so you know, none of those devices are actually on or administering electrical shocks. Because here's what it would look like. Do you see that? It would tighten down the muscles in your neck. That's what electricity does. Depending on, of course, I'm over exemplifying it, but you're going to see those muscles tighten up. Those ads don't show that, right? Right? I mean, I've not seen a single ad that's had an honest person with the devices are not on, okay? If they were on, you would see this kind of shock. But it doesn't change the fact that the testimonials that you see of like, wow, I've been using this, I really, really like it, those are also true. So you can have both. You can have a device that's uncomfortable to use and still have good effects. So, but ideally, could you potentially have the same, if not better effects, but mitigate the pain that you experience from that? Oh yeah, okay. Oh, nice. So TK, you shared, this is fascinating. There's one that shows a woman's face convulsing, but she's turned away from the camera, so you have to look closely. Okay. So still, yeah, all right. Well, I'd say that's it's not there yet. That's not it. That's definitely not the full advertisement. You know what I'm saying? They're like, don't look, you get to see the side of my head while I'm like this. So, hey, to be fair, I think that these devices are great. I think that they're real testimonials. They definitely are working. But if there were something that could legitimately give you the same, if not potentially better effects for your vagus nerve and came with none of the pain, would that be something you guys would be interested in? I mean, legitimately, I think the obvious answer to that is yes. I'm not here to run an infomercial for you, right? Okay, great. Yeah, TK, please. Yeah, and this goes for everyone. If you do see an ad on Facebook of somebody using one of those devices, take a screenshot of it. Save those. Maybe I'll have like a thread in the Facebook group sometime. You guys can post those. That could be interesting. Hey, what are you guys seeing? What's out there? And you're even saying it looks painful. I don't think they realize it's visible. Yeah, maybe. The thing is, I don't think people know what to look at or anything. So they're not even tuned into the fact that would happen. They're just seeing this device in a picture. So that's, again, they're not doing full advertising. It's kind of like, chicken noodle soup, right? You see the Campbell's chicken noodle soup, and I'm just going to say allegedly, but the chicken noodle soup in the 1950s, in order to get that big, marketing of food, for instance, they're not marketing what the actual thing looks like, right? So it's the same with these VNS. It's the same. It literally is the same. It's putting marbles at the bottom of a bowl and pouring your chicken noodle soup noodles on top of the marbles so that it looks like there's more volume, hardiness to the noodles. That's advertising 101 right there. Yeah, Jane. Yeah, exactly. Like turning a TENS unit up high and low. Exactly. So that's kind of what these electrical devices are like. They have the ramping up and then the ramp down. We've all used the TENS unit before, I'm sure. I've had a back strain or a muscle strain, or I hurt my arm or my wrist, and I would put unfortunately I have a lot of hair on my body. I'm like Robin Williams in that I'm a hairy man. I was reflecting on this. I was just kind of relaxing earlier today, and I was looking at my legs. I'm like, damn, man, you are covered in hair. Like, my legs are just very hairy. And there are some people who have no hair, like no hair on their body at all. It's crazy. I don't get it. Anyway, so for me, TENS units, kind of a pain in the butt. But yes, you're right, Jane. It is exactly like turning power up and down, up and down. So there's going to be a little bit of the pain and then less pain, a little bit of pain, less pain. So anyway, if you could have a device that had less of that pain, you'd probably be like, that sounds cool. So might I introduce you to something called ultrasound? Ultrasound does just what these devices does, but has basically none of the pain that you get from an electrical device. None at all. And I can assure you it's very effective because I've been running ultrasound-related programs for, vagus nerve ultrasound for 6 years, ultrasound brain stimulation for 12 years, nonstop since I started. I guess I did take a small break in 2017, but it was for 6 months. But then I found the vagus nerve. I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. Going into the brain is it's technically difficult. Let's just say that. It's challenging to put ultrasound into the human brain because of the skull. But when I found that you can stimulate the vagus nerve through the neck without any skull in the way, you could just put ultrasound right here and hit it. It's amazing. And there's no pain. If you do it right, if there's no pain. There shouldn't be any pain, but you should get the effects of ultrasound. For some who are like, oh, that's interesting. What is that about? I'm going to put a link in the chat so you can go review it later if you want, about vagus nerve stimulation with ultrasound. vegushub.com/ultrasound. So in terms of stimulating the vagus nerve, what they're not telling you is that electrical stimulation does cause pain. They're not telling you also that ultrasound does not cause pain if you do it right. Ultrasound, there are lots of ultrasounds, there's lots of electricity, but there's no form of electrical vagus nerve stimulation that I've found that doesn't induce some threshold of pain in order for it to stimulate your vagus nerve. So there's that. But you can get used to it, probably, just like you can get accustomed to pain, chronic pain. You can get used to it, but why should you? I don't know. Because again, it's like you're doing vagus nerve stimulation to increase your parasympathetic tone, but pain activates your sympathetic system. So you're increasing both, actually. You're increasing parasympathetic with the electrical stimulation and sympathetic pain. So what would we call that? You're fixing with your left hand what you broke with your right hand. It's the same concept behind, why are people critical of Bill Gates, for instance? Bill Gates, apparently he's this great philanthropist. Oh, the Bill Gates Foundation, he's doing so much good in the world, right? He's helping these children in Africa. Wow, so nice. But did you know that because of his, capitalist work, he is in large part a big driver of these cobalt mines that are in Africa, that are putting young children into slavery-like conditions to mine cobalt out of the ground in Africa. Okay, so he's running a philanthropic arm using the billions of dollars he's made by exploiting African labor, and then he gets on TV and gets to go, look at me, I'm so good. It's like you're like a large percentage points responsible for the strife and the horrors happening in Africa right now. And yet we're going to ignore that and then go, oh, but you run a philanthropy thing. Do you guys see? I mean, one in the chat, if you guys are like, you see the the weird perverse thing that's happening, right? So that happens with Bill Gates. That happens with, I don't know, George Soros, with Buffett. Warren Buffett. So let's take Soros for instance. Soros, you're gonna try to get me canceled. I'm sure some of you are like, I watch CNN and Soros is like some sacred cow we can't talk about. Soros goes into countries specifically to destabilize them financially, and then use his philanthropic arms with the money he stole from those countries to then do charity work, to then be praised as, wow, the Soros Foundation, so good, doing such good work. He exploits countries financially. He exploits mass financial markets. He can bankrupt countries, and then he uses that money to go back in there and then buy off certain charities. So again, it's the whole idea. It's fixing with your left hand that which you destroyed with your right hand. It's really perverse. It's really messed up. Bill Gates does it. But then you look at like, okay, again, I have people watching, just so you guys know, just so you guys are clear. And maybe this is just a fault of me, because most of you guys wouldn't like, you probably, some of you would be like, Sterling, that's probably not a great idea that you're doing this. But I have people who watch me. I have people who watch me who run companies that do electrical vagus nerve stimulation. And I have a good professional relationship with them. And so what I'm saying right now might get them a little miffed or a little upset. This is the truth. Guys, maybe we have not too many people watching me live, but I'm also streaming on YouTube where I have hundreds of people watching me there too. So I have diverse viewership. And some of the people who do watch me are keeping tabs on the whole vagus nerve stimulation market. Because do you guys realize that the vagus nerve stimulation market is about a $3.4 billion industry? $3.4 billion. So you think when I get on a live stream and I start talking that people aren't listening? Of course they are listening. So by me saying what I'm about to say, I might be ruffling some feathers and getting myself into some hot water. And maybe I'm not going to be invited to some of these elite, parties in Dubai as a result of it. But I really don't care. I don't care about that. I did that life. I had fun. I'm in my 30s now. I'm settled. I have a home. I'm good. So I'm not looking to get, pats on the back for speaking good where there can be some criticism leveled. Just going to be fair. All right. So here's what I want to say. When you do electrical stimulation of the neck or the ear, electrical stimulation, and you feel any of those pain receptors activating, you are activating your fight or flight system. But you're also activating your parasympathetic system at the same time. Thus, you're trying to calm down a nervous system that you yourself are activating. It'd be like, if you want to feel really good, start punching yourself in the face for a couple minutes and then stop punching yourself in the face. Doesn't that feel really good? Doesn't that feel great to not be punching yourself in the face? Doesn't that feel good? Wow. I should go into coaching on how to stop punching yourself in the face. How good would it feel if you stopped electrically stimulating your sympathetic system? Probably really good. Maybe it's I'm not inducing pain in my body. Is okay. And do you guys follow? 2 in the chat if you guys are following me so far. Do you put a 2 in the chat if you think I just probably pissed one or more CEOs off by saying what I just said? 2 in the chat if you're like, wow, Sterling, that sounded pretty harsh. Okay. Now, what I'm going to say next is a little bit worse. What if the effects that you're seeing, these testimonials from these electrical devices, are like, wow, I felt so good after using this electrical stimulator on my neck? What if the effect is because they just stopped putting like electrical needles into their skin? Would that feel good? The absence of pain feels good, right? Yeah. And are there people in our society who intentionally do themselves harm because it feels good? Yes. They're called masochists. And they're also a group of people called sadists. So it's a sadomasochistic relationship, potentially. And there are enough people out there where you could be seeing these kinds of effects of, wow, I just electrically needled my neck muscles for 2 minutes. And when I stopped, golly, it felt so good. Wow. Maybe they didn't get into cutting when they were in high school, when some of their colleagues did, but they didn't realize that they just liked pain and they liked the after effects of pain, of not having the pain. So that's the last thing I'll say on it, okay? But this is the thing with a lot of these devices that are out there. If it's electrical stimulation, it's going to be causing activation of your sympathetic nervous system. It's going to be ramping up sympathetic responses. So just be mindful of that. Be careful. And I'd say that's exactly what they're not telling you. They are not telling you that these things hurt. Fact. It's just a fact, right? So cool. Well, now that I've thoroughly pissed off, I'm sure, a large portion of my audience, my apologies to you. I hope that in the future you can do better. Maybe you want to offer your clients ultrasound rather than electrical stimulation. It is possible. It is possible. I will tell you. It's something that I do. My clients, they get ultrasound. We use ultrasound from a wellness perspective to very subtly and enjoyably activate the vagus nerve without inducing pain and just the good stuff. That's it. Just some of the good stuff. If you want to learn a little bit more about how we do that, yes, correct, Chris, the ultrasound does not cause pain. Yes, you're right. If you want to learn a little bit more about our latest offering, which I'm really excited about, then you can go to phase 3 and opt in to the email chain that we have there. So the email chain is for something called Project Lotus, which is ultrasound to stimulate the vagus nerve to induce states of enlightenment and higher levels of consciousness. It's a meditation program, and you get an ultrasound device shipped to you as part of joining that program. We are taking some people on right now. We're very particular. It's only available to be sold to end clients, such as yourselves watching. For instance, I know that one of the people in this chat right here is already in the program. And I can assure you that she's having quite a good time with it. It's a very cool program. It's a very cool device. But yeah, so that's called Project Lotus. That would be considered our phase 3 of our program offerings. But all of our program offerings offer ultrasound, not electrical stimulation. We do have a website called VegasCure.com, which is for people who aren't ready to go up to ultrasound. And I say, well, it's totally backwards. I don't think you should ever use electrical stimulation personally. But if you're like, well, I don't know about this ultrasound thing. I just want to try electrical stimulation first and see how I like that. Because it is cheaper for sure. It's definitely more affordable to get a 9-volt battery and run it through your ear. So we do have a website called VegasCure.com. I'll put that in the chat too. Some of you probably know about that already. I'll put that here on the chat for YouTube as well. VegasCure.com. VegasCure.com is a website that I created to basically practice harm reduction because I got so many people come into my Facebook group. It kind of annoyed me. And they kept on I've always been doing ultrasound. Just so you guys know, the moment that I ever uttered the word the vagus nerve, I had already been doing ultrasound nerve stimulation, using ultrasound to stimulate the brain and the body for 6 years before I ever said the word vagus nerve. 6 years prior to saying vagus nerve. So I'm not I didn't come into this ooh, great market opportunity or anything like that. No, it's not like that. But what started to happen was that there were other people out there, other lesser known practitioners who were saying, oh, you should use a TENS unit because you can electrically stimulate your ear. You can electrically stimulate your vagus nerve. And they were goading people, telling them, encouraging them, hey, go use this device. Go electrically stimulate your vagus nerve. It's awesome. And people would then come to my Facebook group, where I never once had ever said, I never once had said, go electrically stimulate your vagus nerve. Never once had I said that. But they would come to my big Facebook group and say, oh my God, please help me. I really seem to have messed something up with my vagus nerve. I followed some advice. I basically put this electrical TENS unit on my ear, and it really, really messed me up. I don't know what to do. Please help. So it becomes my problem. Now it becomes my duty to help someone who followed the advice of some rando who didn't explain to them the full consequences of using electricity. So I was like, well, this sucks. Like, imagine you run imagine you work with cars, and you work with, like, I don't know, let's say you work with a Jaguar. Like, you're a Jaguar distributor, and somebody who drives a Kia crashes their Kia and then drives to your Jaguar place and says, my Kia, something went wrong with my Kia. You need to help me, because that's also a car. It's like, no, it's not. It's not the same thing. Like, but because I'm a nice person, because I hate to see someone come to a group and be in pain because they followed some bad advice, I decided to create VegusCure.com, which VegusCure.com does teach you the absolute most harm reductive way to, if you were going to use electrical stimulation, how you would do it without hurting yourself. So that's what VegusCure is. VegusCure.com is a harm reduction effort on my part to help people who really are, don't find me in time to get them hooked up with ultrasound before they go down the electronic route. Because, none of these other companies are going to tell you that. How many other influencers or other companies that are selling electrical stimulation have told you that you can stimulate your vagus nerve with ultrasound with none of the pain and some better results? How many? If it's zero, besides me, put zero in the chat. I want you guys to be honest with me right now. How many other influencers who are talking about the vagus nerve or other companies have ever mentioned ultrasound on their website to tell you that you could do ultrasound instead of electricity without hurting yourself? How many? Chris says zero, which I agree with. There are zero. Unless I'm wrong, I would love to see GammaCore. I would love to see Pulsetto. I would love to see any of these other overnight electrical Hulest companies have a web page on their website that says ultrasound can also stimulate your vagus nerve. I would love to see that at some point in time, sometime soon. Otherwise, people are just going to keep on coming to me going, well, I didn't even know that was possible. And that's not my fault, because what else can I do? I go live every single day. Every single day I'm live on the internet talking about this stuff. Yes, Chris, zero. TK, zero. Jane, zero. Lori, zero. Exactly. None of you have seen that from others. I'm the one doing ultrasound and telling you, you can do a Pulsetto, you can stimulate your ear, you can do a GammaCore, you can do a Truvaga, you can do a Hulist. I've even told people how to get an electrical implant in their neck if they need to. I've helped guide people to whatever piece of care that I think they need. I've told people, hey, you know what? I think that your condition isn't to the degree where you would be a good fit for any of my programs at this point in time. And so I would advise you, and this is like for people like, oh, my pinky hurts. Like, I don't, if people, like, I know how to gauge if somebody really needs some medical help, and if they need to be in a program or not. And so I can make that determination. So yeah, I haven't said I have told people, hey, it's been great to talk to you here on the phone. I'm listening to all your symptoms. I can legitimately tell you that going the route of ultrasound, I don't even think you need VNS in any way, shape, or form. I think that you need something else. I have made recommendations to people who need other things. And I'm not being mean about it. I'm just telling them, like, you could save yourself a lot of money, time, energy by just sticking to like breathing. You know, look at your diet a little bit, strengthen your neck, get your neck fixed. You see me do this every day. You guys think I legitimately believe that out of the 24,000 members in my Facebook group, that all 24,000 are ever going to work with me in any context ever? No. And if I didn't, if I thought that was the case, I'd shut the group down. I'm going to help people get neck help, digestion help, vagus nerve help, ultrasound, electrical, whatever it is. Maybe they want to do pulses of light or something like that. I don't know. But I'll do harm reduction as much as I possibly can. So anyway. All right. Well, I'm on a big rant there, but just saying, I just did want to point that out, that I do seem to be the only person on the entire fucking internet actually saying any of this shit, which is ridiculous. But you know, hey, anything to make a buck, right? No, I think that the people that are doing these devices, these electric devices, I think they're good people. I've spoken to many of them on the phone. I've had personal conversations with them. They've all reached out to me and said, hey, I'd love to talk. I'd love to learn more about what you're doing and what's going on. And some of them expressed to me that they actually are considering doing ultrasound rather than their electrical stuff. So just so you guys know, a lot of the people who are eyeing you as customers, even themselves know that probably ultrasound would be a better option. And I've heard that from the literal CEOs, the chief executive officers of the companies that are running the ads that you're seeing on Facebook all the time. I've had that conversation on the phone, legitimately. So just so you know. So if you're using ultrasound, you are way better off, I think, personally. That's only my opinion. But again, don't fix with your left hand what you screwed up with your right hand is what I'm trying to say. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate you too. Definitely appreciate you too. So Chris, how do we determine which phase of the program is best for individual needs? I think that's a great question. My answer to you would be this, is to go to the, for most people, Chris, for most people, given the price, the time, and the technology used, which is ultrasound, most people, I'm going to say, you'd be really good starting off with phase 1. Definitely starting off with phase 1. So vegushub.com/phase 1. So Chris, today, go click on that link for phase 1. Phase 1. Now, don't let the word coaching fool you. Coaching is just my way of being able to work with people and not making it, not having it unclear that I'm not trying to represent myself as a doctor, right? So if you go to a doctor and in that, I've gone to doctor's appointments and I've had conversations with the doctor, and it sometimes feels like they're coaching me through a certain thing, okay? So can a doctor become a coach at some point in time? Yeah. But can a coach become a doctor? No. A coach is not just a doctor. So I'm not representing our program as a doctor type of program. Our program is a wellness program built around stimulating your vagus nerve for your health, for the, reduction of some certain symptoms that are commensurate with vagus nerve damage. How do you know if your vagus nerve is damaged? Well, certainly watch that video on phase 1 and look at some of the testimonials too. We have testimonials on that page too. You can actually watch, hey, do I look like Charlene? Do I look like Lynn? Do I sound like Penny before she started? Then if you resonate with those women who are on the page on phase 1, then that's probably an indication that you should probably go and do that. But if you want the information on what do I consider a candidate for going through any of these phases, check out the symptoms page, because that'll tell you what does vagus nerve dysfunction look like practically in a human body. That's a really important page. So please go to vegushub.com/symptoms and check that out. I'll put that down there. So, awesome. All right, cool. Well, for the most part, I think that's legitimately the vast majority of what I wanted to and needed to say. I'm going to end it there on YouTube. So thanks everybody so much for watching on YouTube. If you liked and appreciated this content, and if you feel like you learned something and you feel like you can make better consumer decisions now for you and your loved ones, then consider giving this page or this video and my YouTube channel a like and a subscribe and a comment. I would appreciate it. I do read your comments too, so that would be great. Thanks so much on YouTube. I will see you again tomorrow with another exciting video. I think I have the topic for tomorrow figured out. Let me just read it off. Tomorrow, we're going to be returning to something we talked about earlier, which was what guys like Tony Robbins miss when it comes to chronic health challenges. So we're gonna take aim. If you liked me taking aim at the consumer vagus nerve stimulation market, we're gonna take aim at another big player named Tony Robbins, and how he actually messes people up a lot with their health when things don't go right. So definitely be sure to join us for tomorrow's video. All right, thanks YouTube. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.